I am Betina Ringby. I'm a physiotherapist and I work in University College of Northern Denmark. I work with my colleague Vibeke. What I would like to share with you today is how we wanted to challenge the statement that entrepreneurial teaching is only for nerds or passionate people. I would try to put this in a context because we don't have actually entrepreneurship in our curriculum. So we have to find new ways to put it in there or to sneak it in there. And there is a place where, or a module where students can choose different courses. And typically courses for physiotherapists would be to have a course on neck injuries, low back pain, acupuncture, or physiotherapy with children or something. So when we wanted to challenge all these ways of working, we thought, okay, could we develop something new? And then I saw there were some instructions on how to do a poster for this session. And we didn't do it because you can read all that in the abstract. What we want to share with you today is how actually we planned the course. And then we would like your comments on what we could do to improve this course, or if you have any new suggestions or questions for us. So we would like to add on to this by sharing it with you. So our vision was to sort of develop entrepreneurial physiotherapy in an international setting, because globalization is very important also for healthcare students. And we wanted to contribute to some kind of a global, in a global setting. And a lot of our students really like to travel, so we thought maybe we can combine these two things. So we got some partners in Porto, in Portugal, and they would very much like to work with us. So we developed a 4-week course. It was a bit of a struggle to make people or make our students choose this course. But we were happy that we actually made it. So this course is what I will tell you about, and it's a 4-week course. We had 1 week in Denmark, 2 weeks in Porto, and 1 week back in Denmark. And the first week, the whole course, the basis was the progression model. It was about effectuation and the 5 principles, and it was about world-class learners. So that was our theoretical framework or background for this course. So these physiotherapy students, on Friday, they, before the course started on Monday, they had a really physiotherapeutic course on like neck or some neck pain. So when they stepped in Monday morning, they didn't know much about this topic. So we thought, okay, the first week we will have to sort of guide them to see what this is going to be all about. So the first week we did an insights personal preference profile to discuss who am I and to make them realize, of course they know who they are, but to get more in depth and to share. Then we talked about effectuation and the 5 principles and how you could apply them also to physiotherapy. We talked about intercultural understanding, about intercultural competences, intercultural sensitivity, and how was Denmark and Porto and into a healthcare setting. Then we talked about positioning and how you can choose your approach to different situations, and in this case to entrepreneurial physiotherapy practice. And then we made students do a creativity workshop for a class of international students that were there at that time. One barrier to our students is to do an international course like that because they say we can't speak English. We can't talk about our profession. Of course they travel a lot, but we don't have the vocabulary to talk about our profession in English. And so some of these students were just about to skip a course like that because they thought their English wasn't good enough. So we tried to persuade them that of course you can do that. And so we had also some tasks that they had to do in order to start talking about their profession in English. So what we did was we went to Porto, and Vibeke and we stayed there with the students as on-the-spot supervisors for the first week, and then we left and went back home, and they stayed for another week. So what was most important was that we had contact with some companies, private companies, all run by physiotherapists, very different companies, like a horse riding company, a company who made courses for health professionals, and neuro rehabilitation company, and a company for health promotion with children and rehabilitation with children. And so we met all these companies, talked to the physios, and the students had to choose where they would like to go and help them with their challenges in these working places, or where they thought that they knew something that they could put into it and contribute to these people. And alongside the field work that they did in these companies, we made a lot of different tasks for them to do alongside. And tomorrow I will talk more about this toolbox in particular, but what we did was like go out in Porto with your physio glasses and just start observing, looking what is different from a Danish context. And they saw so many different things that were very different in a health perspective from being in Denmark. They had to do an insights workshop to share what they had in their profiles. How can I contribute to this teamwork? How can I help you? Or how can we help each other? How can we help the company? And also, we wanted them to not just know about the effectuation and the principles, but they had to go out and apply it to their fieldwork company and to the physiotherapy there. So yeah, very interesting to see how they analyzed and applied these principles to the actual fieldwork. And then they also had to do some idea generation workshop with their peer students, because they didn't all go to the same places, but of course they could help each other and build onto each other's ideas. So they had to find new ways of actually setting up different ways of working with your peers. And then all these different tasks, which was a very important thing in this course, was they had to document it all on a blog. So in the beginning, in this first week, they set up a blog, and Vibeke will tell you more about this blogging today. So they had to reflect and do their personal blogging. And as teachers, that's very new to us, because we usually have like 75, 60, 25 students in class. So now you could reach or read every student's reflections and what they've learned, and it was very different. Everybody learned different things, and so very interesting to actually read their blogs and to discuss. And then they stayed there for a week and had to do some kind of initiative, help the company do something, and it was very different what they did. Some saw that there was no sort of documentation, and the ethics about how they handle the documentation in that rehabilitation center. They thought, wow, we really have something to add here. Somebody learned how can you set up a riding horse company, very different from what you can do in Denmark, and much more possibilities to do it in Porto or in Portugal. Somebody made a course for this company who sold courses. They had to look for what was needed in Porto and see what can we set up a new course, and they had help from all the business people in that, and they set up a course and used their network in Denmark. It was a running analysis course, which was very different how we do it in Denmark and how they did it in Porto. So there was a new thing that they could add on to their company. So they went back home, and then we discussed about action research methods, because that was actually what they had been doing. So we tried to put a little more on research, because this was just before their doing their bachelor. So maybe we could help them see what is action learning actually. And we did some stuff on idea pitching. How can you do that? We did some dream boarding. Maybe some of their dreams had come true, or maybe they started thinking about their dreams. Personal development, future actions. What can we do if we want to do more with these people? How can we sustain our network? How can we come back? or maybe develop something totally new. And of course they had to present their fieldwork also in English to these international students coming back home. And then we had some formative evaluation where we used the blogging, so we got a transcript of all their bloggings. We used the effect or the progression model. I mean, we tried to see if it could be used as like a visual analog scale from the beginning to, and they had to, before and after, how do I feel in these different fields of the progression model. And it seemed that everyone really gained new insights, new knowledge about themselves. What they thought they could never do, they realized that they could do. They were so afraid of speaking English, and they realized that so is everybody else, or so it didn't matter so much. Some of the students that actually chose this course chose it because they knew that they were a little introvert, quiet students, so they needed support from teachers to really step out of their comfort zone. And some of them said in the last part of the course, I never thought entrepreneurship would be anything for me, but I actually think there's a little hidden entrepreneur within me. And so as a teacher, that's really nice to come back home and see that how much you can do actually in 4 weeks when you don't teach too much, referring to Alan Gibb, not too much theory, but just to plunge in there and see what we can do, and then try to put a little bit of theory alongside to make them understand why we're doing it or how it could be done. So this is it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.